April 12, 1928, a cold, forgotten storeroom in the British Museum. A lone archaeologist, T.A. Joyce, is sifting through relics, but his attention locks onto one object, accession number 98,016, a human skull carved from a single block of impossibly clear quartz crystal. It's smooth, flawless, and allegedly found deep in the abandoned Mayan ruins of Lubentont. The official records dismiss it as a curiosity, maybe even a modern fake. But Joyce, he felt something different, a deep, ancient pull. He believed this skull held the key, a frozen, silent witness to one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, the mystery of the Maya, a civilization of millions, masters of time and the cosmos, builders of cities that scraped the clouds, who didn't fade out over centuries and weren't conquered by invaders. They simply vanished. What is the real story locked beneath the jungle? What could make an entire society walk away from their magnificent stone world and never look back? You're about to find out the terrifying and surprisingly human truth. To understand the collapse, you have to appreciate the peak. This wasn't some group of primitive tribes for over 1,000 years. The Maya were the engine of Mesoamerica. Imagine a civilization where the average person was a mathematical genius. They had a complex written language. Zero was a concept they used centuries before Europe, and their calendar was more precise than anything else on Earth at the time. Their city-estical, Calakmul were colossal, high-tech urban centers. Their farmers engineered the very landscape, building intricate canal systems and reservoirs, sustaining a population that swelled into the millions. This was the zenith of human ingenuity in the jungle. Their kings weren't just rulers. They were godlike figures, living intermediaries between the people and the cosmos. The social contract was simple. The king performs the rituals, the gods guarantee the rain, the harvest comes, and the civilization thrives. They built a world of order, predictable cycles, and breathtaking beauty. And then it stopped around the year 800 AD. A silent, slow-motion catastrophe began to creep across the southern lowlands. It wasn't a bomb or a scream. It was the quiet absence of a chisel. The records carved into the stelae, those towering stone monuments that recorded royal histories, suddenly Gozelant, the last date ever recorded at the mighty city of Calakmul. 909 AD. After that, nothing. Construction projects stop midway. Palaces are left with unfinished murals. The inhabitants, tens of thousands of people, seemed to have just walked away. It wasn't a riot, it was a mass abandonment. Within 100 years, the jungle had swallowed the greatest civilization in the Americashi. If you want to keep unraveling history's biggest secrets, like the full story of the megadroughts and the final twist behind that crystal skull, make sure you're subscribed. It's the best way to support the channel and never miss the next ancient mystery. What force is powerful enough to shatter a society at its absolute zenith? Was it an event so catastrophic it instantly wiped the slate clean? Or was it something far slower, far more intimate, something the Maya did to themselves? And why do we still misunderstand the very purpose of their kings? We'll get to the real motive in a moment. For centuries, historians proposed wild theories: disease, peasant revolt, even alien visitors. But the real answer was hiding in plain sight, etched into those stone monuments. Scholars like David Stewart began to truly decipher the intricate Mayan glyphs. And what they revealed shattered the image of the serene, star-gazing astronomer priests. Instead, they found warrior kings. City-states were not peaceful trading partners, were locked in a constant, brutal, zero-sum game of total war. Tycho versus Calakmul, Pilus versus Cybele. These were wars of conquest, driven by a desperate need for resources and tributius. The population soared. The wars intensified. The demand for resources became unsustainable to feed massive armies. They needed more farmable land to build triumphant new pyramids. They needed limestone plaster, which required insane amounts of firewood to produce. They started clearing the jungle at a breakneck pace. This wasn't a sustainable policy. It was an environmental suicide mission, and every piece of jungle they cleared wasn't just removing a tree, it was removing their only defense against the inevitability. Were brilliant engineers, but their greatest success became their greatest Weakness, they built massive reservoirs to catch seasonal rains, but when they stripped the dense jungle cover, the soil beneath was left exposed. When the seasonal torrents did come, the water didn't soak into the ground. It rushed straight down the hills, carving out the soil, silting up their canals, and crucially evaporating faster. Jungle, the natural system that regulated their climate for millennia, was gone. They had pushed their environment to its absolute breaking point, and right at the moment they needed their system to be most resilient, the climate decided to push back. How do we know this? Because the soil has secrets. Scientists didn't need to rely on the glyphs. They drilled into lake beds, pulling out sediment cores, and examined stalagmites in caves. What those cores told us about the sky above the Maya is chilling. It revealed a timeline that matches the collapse perfectly, right down to the year. This wasn't just a tough season, this was a megadrought, and it had a precise start date, beginning right around 820. At the exact moment the stele started going silent, the Yucatan Peninsula was struck by a series of prolonged, intense droughts. Some lasted for decades. We're talking 20, 30 years without reliable rain. Think about the cities you just saw, the reservoirs, designed for a rainy season that never came, dried up completely. The very canals they engineered became channels of dust. Imagine the sheer desperation. The king, the divine figure whose rituals were supposed to command the heavens, was now powerless. He could pray, he could sacrifice, but the rains still failed. The social contract, built on faith in their leaders, began to tear apart, thread by thread. With you're blown away by the sheer engineering of this ancient world, do me a huge favor. Just tap that like button. It sends a massive signal to YouTube that you want more deep dives like this, and it seriously helps us keep uncovering these ancient mysteries. Thank you. With it, water, the maze failed. Without food, there was famine. The skeletal remains found in those eerily silent cities grimly confirm it. Widespread malnutrition was rampant. People were starving, faced with total thirst, hunger, and a complete crisis of faith in their system. They did the only logical thing a human family can do. Left. It wasn't one massive dramatic flight, it was a gradual bleeding out. Family by family, they packed up and began the desperate search for reliable water sources. They walked away from the monuments, the palaces, the ball courts, and the civilization that had defined them. Maya weren't wiped out. They scattered. Their descendants live on today, carrying their bloodline and language, but the classical, powerful pyramid-building civilization was gone forever. And what about that crystal skull? The object that started our story, the supposed key to the Maya's doom. Decades after Joyce first touched it, modern scientific analysis confirmed his intuition was right and tragically wrong. The skull was never a Maya relic. It was a 19th century fabrication, a ghost, a false clue. But the real collapse it pointed us toward is not a ghost story at all. It is the perfect, chilling, three-part storm of ancient history. The Maya collapse wasn't supernatural, it wasn't simple. It was a perfect storm created by one, political instability. The relentless, destructive warfare that wasted resources; two, environmental degradation, unsustainable deforestation that crippled the ecosystem's ability to recover; three, catastrophic climate change, a series of megadroughts that tipped the fragile balance past the point of no return. It's a haunting story, reminding us that even the most brilliant, sophisticated societies are fragile. Magnificent cities of Tikal and Calakmul now stand as quiet monuments to a simple, terrifying truth. Every civilization is balanced on a knife's edge between order and chaos, survival and oblivion. And when humanity pushes nature, nature always pushes back. The empty plazas of Tikal are whispering a cautionary tale that we, in the 21st century, must listen to. Do you think we've solved the problems the Maya faced, or are we repeating them on a global scale? That's a question for the comments, and if you found this story compelling, you won't want to miss our next deep dive, the equally mysterious vanishing of the ancient Indus Valley civilization. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. I'll see you next time.